Have the Troy Trojans turn the corner? It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, a little natural light. Didn't get the podcast done last night. Who knows why? Basketball games end late on the East Coast is the issue. All right, so we will talk Troy here in a minute. Sunbelt actually wins the Sunbelt MAC Challenge 8-4 in the first round. And we get the first playoff poll tonight, among other things that may happen on Tuesday night. All right, let's talk about Troy because we actually had this one right. I didn't do too poorly. Didn't get South Alabama right. I got to go back and see if I picked App. I may have picked them out of sympathy. I don't think I made a pick on the Cajuns ball game, but I did get the Marshall ULM game right. Said Marshall was going to win, but ULM would cover. This one, I definitely picked Troy. A little upheaval with Coastal Carolina, bringing in a new offensive coordinator. They benched Ethan Vasco in the game against the Cajuns. Noah Kim came in, made it a football game, and then they go back to Ethan Vasco. And remember, they had the week off leading up to this ball game against Troy. But Troy played a heck of a ball game against Arkansas State. And I know they didn't quite finish it off, but they could have gotten blown out, right? That was as great as Arkansas State didn't panic late. Texas State, that's one of those games that can spin out of control. And what was it, 20-3? I mean, you could be looking at, 37-10, and you just don't know what happened. Instead, Troy took the lead twice in that ball game. And then they come home, and home dogs are, you got to be really good to be a home or a road favorite, right? Texas State found out what that was about against at ODU. Home dogs are awfully interesting when you are gambling on them. Trust me on that one. But Troy had a good ball game, came out 7-7. Matthew Caldwell didn't do a whole lot in the air. They kind of ran this ball. Matthew Caldwell, 1,669 yards and 2 touchdowns in the air. So kind of good and bad, just over 50% completion percentage, but threw for a bunch of yards, right? I mean, it's 10.6 average per attempt, but much more than that per completion. Damian Taylor, 28 carries, 190 yards and a touchdown. Gerald Green, 19 carries and a touchdown. Caldwell had a sneak as well for a touchdown. But Damian Taylor and Gerald Green, maybe they have found their identity. That's 47 carries for 313 yards. That is a ton. Did I do that right? Let's see here. What Troy rushed for? They put up 21 points in the second quarter. They rushed for 342 yards as a team, 511 yards as an offense, and they turned the ball over. Coastal did not turn the ball over, and Troy just decided that they could run over Coastal Carolina. 342 rushing yards to 107. So ball game started out 7-7, and then it was 28-7, and this is where Coastal makes a run in the second half. They got it to 28-17, and then they did get it to 35-24, but that was as close as they did get it in the second half. So they trailed by 11 a couple of times. They never did make it a one-score ball game. And so you got to be thrilled for Jared Parker. It has not been, an easy season. Goose Crowder going down really early. They're playing with 3 quarterbacks. It does feel like it's Caldwell's job for now. It's taken a little bit of time to find out what the identity is of the team, and we're going to run the football, and obviously they were really successful in that. Let me see what these averages were, because, they ran for a lot of yards. I mean, Taylor was 6.8 yards per carry. Green was 6.5 yards per carry. Just to be on the other side, Ethan Vasco, he went 18 of 34, but he averaged only 6.1 yards an attempt. So he completed 18 passes for 206 yards. Caldwell completed 9 passes for 169 yards. So Troy's defense was pretty good. And obviously, when you're completing it at just over 50% of the time and you're running it at ease, right? Every 2 rushes are a first down. What were the first down stats? Let me see if they have that here. First downs, 23-16. Troy was 6 out of 12 on third downs. I mean, it's a great ball game, right? For Troy. I think I saw they have this week off. They do. They play Georgia Southern on the 16th. That's their next ball game. And that is not this Saturday, but next. They do finish up at the Cajuns, and they have Southern Miss at home. So they could have an effect on the Sun Belt Championship, right? They're playing both division leaders, both in the division leaders' home stadium. So that's not going to be easy. And they do wrap up with Southern Miss at home. So that should be a win. And I know there's no moral victories, a bunch of yada, yada, yada. But let's see if Troy can go in and compete with Georgia Southern. All right. Let's see how they compete against the Cajuns. You want to see progress if you're Jared Parker. You obviously want to see wins, and I get that. All right. But the season is what the season is right now. With all the turnover, with all the coaching defections, with all the player defections, with all the injuries, you got to take baby steps so you are in a position not to take a baby step next year. You got to take a big step next year. Like Troy should want to be able to contend next year for the Sun Belt West Division crown, right? It's not about, well, we won 3 games in the Sun Belt this year. We need to win 4 next year. No, that's not it. They need to play. They need to lay the groundwork this season to contend for next season. So that's the idea. Not that, they get blown out, it matters, but you can, as a coaching staff and as a program, you can look to say, this Georgia Southern team's pretty good, right? They have pulled 2 wins out of their backsides, and you have to play them for 60 minutes, and we did. All right, win or lose. And if you win, even better. Going to the Cajuns are incredible on the road. They have 1 home loss. They've gone to Wake. They've gone to San Marcos, and they've come up with a couple of victories, and you just went toe-to-toe to them. All right. So remember this anguish, if you will. That's a little bit of a big word on a Tuesday morning. Remember this feeling, because remember that feeling we had when we beat Coastal Carolina. That's the feeling we need on a regular basis. And you guys have the ability. You guys have the talent. It's taking that next step to be more consistent. And in Troy's case against Coastal Carolina, dominating. I mean, they ran it through, Coastal Carolina's line with ease, and we'll see if they can do that against Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern's weakness defensively is stopping the run. I think South Alabama went away from that, and that was the issue. And so we'll see what happens. Don't turn the ball over and run the football against Georgia Southern. You got a really good shot, because remember, Marshall and South Alabama both contributed to their own demise. Marshall turned it over a couple of times, and South Alabama turned it over actually a couple of times as well. All right, so congratulations, Jared Parker and the Troy Trojans, for getting that big win and looking good doing it. We'll see what happens next weekend when they are at Georgia Southern. All right, we're going to flip to basketball. Did watch a few games last night, some fantastic finishes. Whoever the referees are, they seem to be in midseason form. Sunbelt wins the Sunbelt MAC Challenge 8-4. We'll talk about some of the ball games right after I tell you about Roy. Hey, Sunbelt fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pooled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. the best part is risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, I'm supporting Mike Green of the Marshall Thundering Herd. He ended up being the Senior Bowl Defensive Player of the Week. He had 9 tackles, 4 solo, and 2 sacks in the Herd's 28-23 victory over ULM. I just pitched in $100, and I'd love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Let's show Mike Green of the Marshall Thundering Herd the love and keep him connected to the Thundering Herd. Remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets your team up for success. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter referral code LOCKEDON, and you're entered. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X/Twitter at Roy_. Roy, support the players, change the game. And FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Basketball started yesterday. Again, we were trying to get to basketball. Sunbelt drops a bomb on the postseason tournament. It is what it is. A little insane, but it is what it is. And now we get the Sunbelt MAC Challenge, and Sunbelt won it 8-4. Let's see if we go through it quickly. Losers were South Alabama. They played Central Michigan. South Alabama was getting hammered in that one, and they did make it a 2-point game with 11 seconds left to go, but Central Michigan hits a couple of free throws. Miami goes into Boone, North Carolina, and takes down App State 77-63. Other Sun Belt losers, the Cajuns, a loss 70-66 to Kent State. This is back and forth. Again, it's going to be a tough season for the Cajuns. They lost Kintinge for the season. And it was Brandon Hardy, who's got a broken jaw. He may be back for back for conference play. There was a little scuffle. It didn't end up being that big a deal. There were a bunch of technicals, and Kent State got 1 free throw out of it. Cajuns hit a bunch of threes after that, so it didn't really matter. I will say that it all started because there was an awful blocking charge call. I mean, is it Evans? He was the one who got the technical. He pushed Davis off of him after Davis landed on him going up for a layup. And, I mean, you could see that it was a charge to begin with, and they called a block. So, goodness gracious. They are in mid-season forms. And, again, I don't know if it's Sun Belt or MAC referees. I'm not sure it really matters. Let's see what else happened. Who was the other loser? Because we had some nice winners. Well, that was it. Did I get that right? Central Michigan won. Miami won. Buffalo. Buffalo hit a 3-pointer at the end of the ball game. I don't know if there was much controversy on this one. The only thing was the clock on the TV read 0 when the Buffalo player hit the corner 3, but the real clock, was still running. I'm like, because usually even if you see the 3, you can see the tenths running down. I said, that's going to be close, and it really wasn't that close. Here's the only – so ODU played pretty well. Buffalo shot the lights out, all right? A lot of – even my Orange were missing free throws and had a little bit of a tough time with Lemoyne, but their defense was awful. So Buffalo's shooting the lights out. ODU is still in it. Buffalo was picked last in the MAC. That's the only thing I'd be concerned about. about with ODU. They just lost at home to the worst team in the MAC. Certainly an exciting ball game, but did not go ODU's way. So I did have that right. 8-4 Sun Belt against the MAC. Big ball games, though, were Arkansas State. That was fun to watch. That was back and forth. The preseason Sun Belt favorite went to overtime against Akron. Akron would not go away. Arkansas State could not run them out of the gym. The former Cajun Kobe Julian, a 6-16 from the floor, but 1 of 6 from three. Did have 4 turnovers. He had 14 points. Pinion had 16 points. D Ford Jr. or Darian Ford. I'm sorry, Darian Ford. He hit a bank shot at the end of with 1 second left on the shot clock, and he didn't get it off in time. But he did bank one home, and then Akron had a couple of chances and, couldn't get it done. And then Arkansas State, had it. That's a good ball game to come away with a win like that. You kind of see the toughness. It is rather a veteran team for Arkansas State. And that's a good start because that's not a warm-up game to get to a warm-up, to get to a big game. That is the game. So that's pretty good. Let's see where Akron was. Akron got a first-place vote. They were picked second to win. They were picked second in the preseason poll. So that's a nice win for Arkansas State. Let's see. You know who else had a nice win is Georgia Southern. Remember, Georgia Southern started out 0-12 last year. 0-12. And they just beat Northern Iowa. I don't think Northern Iowa was picked to be very good. No, they were picked second to last. But that doesn't matter because Georgia Southern was awful to begin the season last year. So Georgia Southern with an 80-65 win. A much better start this year than last. James Madison knocks off Ohio. Ohio was your preseason pick to win the conference. James Madison wins it 88-78. And the other big ball game, Troy defeats Toledo 84-74. Apparently, Toledo, your 4-time defending MAC champions. MAC is a good conference, right? They are generally, if the Sun Belt is your best Group of 5 football conference, MAC is generally considered, one of the best Group of 5 basketball conferences. They regularly put more than one team in the NCAA tournament. If the regular season champ doesn't win the conference tournament, they usually get in with the tournament winner. So they usually put in a couple of teams in the NCAA tournament. So that's nice. And just to let you know, all the games were in Sun Belt land this time around. We'll see what happens going up there. Were there another game that I wanted to mention? I think we mentioned all of them. Marshall didn't play this time around. They beat Davis and Elkins, counting for 90-57. And ULM got a win, 111-61 over Champion Christian, whatever that is. Texas State, the other Sun Belt team, does take down Eastern Michigan 64-44. So a nice start to the Sun Belt. I think the top teams in the Sun Belt. Let's see where the top teams were. So the top teams in the Sun Belt, Cajuns were picked 4th, but that was before they lost Contingay. Arkansas State won, JMU won, Troy won, Southern Miss won. They were 5th. App State lost. Texas State was 7th. Georgia Southern won, and ODU won. I think Georgia State did get a win. So Georgia State beat Ball State 71-66. Some other games. Southern Miss beat Bowling Green 77-68. So I didn't go over all of these teams. So, but I think the top end did well, and we'll see what the Cajuns are. Certainly, let's see where they lose to Kent State. Kent State was picked 3rd. So tough loss for the Cajuns because they had a shot to win that ball game. All right, let's come back. We get the first college playoff poll coming out tonight, and certainly the Sun Belt could not be too far out of that. We'll do that when we come back after I tell you about Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first generally engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break through this byproduct and break it down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Here's how to use it. Drink pre-alcohol. For best results, make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself, hydrate, and get a good night's sleep. And step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege at checkout for 15% off. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We do get the playoff poll announced tonight. That will come out. Presume Boise State is going to be the Power Five, the Group of Five team that is in there. I don't think that's going to come as much of a surprise. We'll see how they do this. Do they rank it, 1 through 25 again? Because otherwise, we'll see if the Cajuns are getting any votes or getting some. They are getting some college poll votes. All right. So this is, for example, the Athletic. All right. So they got a bunch of Power 5 schools, and Boise is number 12. You do have Clemson, Iowa State, Army, SMU, and Ole Miss on the bubble, right? SMU, isn't SMU like ACC? So we'll see how that goes. Let's see here. Reddit, here's what the 12-team playoff would look like based on the AP poll. Reddit put this out. They have Boise number 12. First four are, Oregon, Georgia, Miami, and BYU. All right. Alabama is still 11th. Penn State is still 7th. Indiana is 9th. They got Tennessee in there. Let me see how many SEC teams are in there, right? So you got Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and Tennessee. So that's 4, all right? Big Ten teams, you got Penn State, is Oregon now in the Big Ten, and Ohio State, that's 3. ACC, you only have Miami. So we'll see how this goes. The Cajuns, absolutely, they're going to need a loss, right? They're going to need Boise State to lose. It is what it is, and they're going to have to run the table, right? They're going to have to, not only win the West, but then win the conference championship. We now have to think about how we get home field advantage. Is that overall winning percentage, right? So the Cajuns would, I guess, get that. They're 7-1. Georgia Southern is 6-3. Cajuns are 4-0. Georgia Southern is 4-1. Now my head's going to hurt, so we got to figure out that. I guess I'm going to guess its overall record, but I don't know. I will check on that. Who does host if they do finish tied? And they're already talking about Kevin Foote from the Acadiana Advocate, already talking about how they do as front runners, but then, the Cajuns have been the front runners for the better part of a decade. They may not be, the best team in there per se, but, between Hudspeth, Napier, and Dez, and the way Sunbelt fans feel about Cajuns fans, they've been a target for a long time, right? This has been a solid program. I got there in 13. Hudspeth took them to a bowl game in 11. So, they've been, I think they've only missed a bowl game. Was it twice under HUD? So that's 11 to 23. Was that 13 years? And they've been to a bowl game every year except 2. That's pretty good, right? Napier had them in a bowl game every time. Des has taken them to a bowl game every time. It's been pretty good. They've had a target on their back for the better part of a decade. We'll see what Arkansas State does. That's going to be an exciting ball game, because does Arkansas State take that next level? Right, they went into San Marcos and got destroyed. Right, that was one of their worst games of the season. They've played very well at home. Cajuns defense is outstanding. Right, held Texas State. They went up and down the field a few times, but kept on kicking field goals. Cajuns need to work on finishing as well. They didn't quite finish it off against Wake and got a little bit fortunate that Wake hits one off the upright. Didn't quite finish it off against Texas State, and then get a tipped pass for an interception. So that's a defensive force, but still a little bit of a break there. And I only say that because they could have put it away. Right, you score a touchdown and the game is over. So we will see. If this was in Jonesboro, it'd be a little bit different, but it's in Lafayette. All right. So we got a bunch of good ball games this week. What is ULM going to do? Right, because now it's still going on the road. So that's a thing. And we shall see, what happens with the Cajuns. And Georgia Southern off. Did I see that? Let me see. If Georgia Southern is off. Yeah, they are. Georgia Southern is off. So they get Troy next. So they are off. You do have quickly Coastal Carolina hosting App State. It's a big ball game for both teams. App can go to 3-3 in the Sun Belt. Coastal loses that one. They have a losing record and are 1-4 in the Sun Belt. Monroe is actually hosting Texas State. This one could be all about heart, because this is ULM's chance to get to a bowl game and see how Texas State responds to getting beat at home, right? Let me see, what is the line on this one? Interesting. Texas State favored by 7. Oof. Southern Miss is at home. Marshall going on the road. Remember, Marshall still has an outside shot at winning the Sun Belt East. And James Madison, big favorites over Georgia State at home. So we'll go over those later in the week. Probably in tomorrow's episode, do those early betting lines. All right. Thanks so much. I am apologizing for not getting it done last night. As ridiculous as this sounds, changing my eating habits a little bit. We put on a little bit of weight and did not eat much for dinner. And surprisingly, that doesn't give you a lot of energy. And again, those basketball games in Central Time Zone ending late. So I wanted to make sure those were all done before I got to it. We'll have to figure out a different process, because I'm not always going to have a day off when they play. So although most of it is usually Thursday and Saturday. So, but still, I won't have a day off either, because I'm mostly working Fridays and Sundays. We are up over 1,600 subscribers. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Another record-setting month in October. We look to do that more so in November. Give us a 3-month winning streak. Have a great day, everybody. We will enjoy that playoff poll. We'll go over the playoff poll on a Wednesday, along with those early betting lines. You have been watching and listening to Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day,